everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ndibulele, and I'd like to welcome those who are here for the very first time. Thank you guys for coming and gracing my channel, and I really appreciate you. Please come and stay. Please subscribe. You see that red button that says subscribe. Please subscribe. And to the returnees, those who are here all the time, thank you so much. Next time I will make a shout out to the few of you, but I would like to thank you. Guys, I couldn't let Mr. Fikeni go. We had to do part 2 of this. I felt like there's a lot that we needed to talk about when it comes to this looting. So with Mr. Fikeni, can you please greet the viewers again?
Greetings everyone, this is Ndibulele again, coming back for the second time. It's a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Okay, so we talked more on the economical part of the looting. I heard somebody, while listening to the news, overhearing conversations there and there, most people are saying, no, this is just a political battle. It means whoever they are fighting, so they are using people. And being a student myself previously, I realized that whenever another political party or whoever wants something, they tend to use people to make their voice known to their opponent. Or even if it's the same structure, let's say for instance it's ANC, if they want to threaten, let's say Ramaphosa, is because we know that these politics, even though they are in the same political party, they have groups. Maybe sometimes a certain group will be like, I want to show him he cannot do this to me. So I'm not really good when it comes to politics. I'll be listening a lot from you. So what do you have to say about that side of looting, being politically influenced?
Politically, there are a lot of influences. Like political power is very important, especially when it comes to state affairs. So whoever wields power in politics indeed wields the will of the people, because that's mostly the majority of the people that we vote for.
Yes.
In this regard, it started as though people were backing they wanted the release of the former president. My opinion on this one is coming from the perspective of me being a South African citizen, and I do not have first-hand information about the events that occurred. So I'm going to
You're just speculating.
Yes,
as well.
According to what I saw in the media and according to what I would believe I understand. Okay. So it has been out there that most of the looting started because people were in support of the former president not going to prison, regardless of what the South African law says, which was quite funny.
It's funny,
and the most important thing that one should see when they look at South African politics is that it seems like the ANC defines South African politics. The life and the breath and the rhythm of South African politics is mostly defined by the ANC, because the turmoil that followed with politicians in the ANC this time, I would like to think, against the judiciary system of South Africa. And if then we are saying it's the ANC members that were in support of the former president, they went to loot and whatnot, then the future of the country is grim to an extent. The future of the politics of the country is bad. It's bad. It's in tatters. It's worse off than it was years ago.
It's worse than the racism that we're crying about.
It's worse than apartheid itself. Because if people are angry at the system that they themselves propped up, remember, this country has been under the rule of the ANC since the New Dawn, since 1994, since democracy. Remember, previously we were under parliamentary supremacy, where all the decisions in the country were taken in parliament, and the judiciary was second to that. So but now we live in this system where if you disagree even with parliament, you can still take it to court and things can be changed in court. Story for another day. But what I'm getting at is that we are having a political crisis if the same ruling party, when it disagrees with the judiciary system, which is in its founding in its founding principles, then they go on to destroy the country that they themselves have helped to create. So we are having a political crisis from my perspective. And speaking of a political crisis, I do feel that South Africans do not feel that they have a viable opposition that they can then go to if things go bad and the ANC. Remember this other day at the residence, I was having a conversation with another student, like, why don't people just vote otherwise if they are fed up with the ANC instead of going looting? And then they said, for who?
For who? Yeah, that's what I also wanted to say. I'm trying to think in my mind. Yeah. Who else am I gonna vote for?
Remember, there are three prominent parties. The IFP fell out of grace. It became a smaller party. We have the ANC, we have the EFF, we have the DA. Some people still feel that the DA is too wide, myself included.
Me too.
And you know, when the Tony Leon book came out that called Musima Iman an experiment, I felt he was an experiment as well. Yeah. So was Lindiwe Mazibuko, who was former parliamentary leader of the I felt those people were experiments, or I felt that they met the definition of what they call clever blacks. Oh. Yeah. And I feel that the EFF, though it does represent the ideas of the great majority of young black people, but I do not believe it has attained the maturity to run the country.
Maturity,
and though they are an answer to some of the political problems that we have, I still do feel that they are rough around the edges in terms of dealing with the sensitive matters of state because of the rhetoric that comes mostly from their leader. Yeah. With that said, I am going to say when I was in politics, I was indeed a student activist within the ranks of the EFF at my campus. But I have since been a private citizen, an ordinary person who is no longer much into politics. But with that said, the ideas that come from the EFF are pro-black, and it's wonderful to have that. But at the same time, they are quite scary, which makes them not a viable opposition to the ANC.
So I feel like they just say without accountability. They think that it's like they're pushing people to do as they please without accountability.
Yes, yeah.
That's why my problem is I would sometimes feel like, okay, let me give them a chance. But then hearing their statements every time we have a crisis, how they will handle it makes me think twice.
Yeah, with that said, they are relevant in the context of South African politics. Yes. They are highly relevant. We do need firebrands that can go out there, speak their mind to kind of balance the political situation in the country. Yeah. But I don't believe that they provided enough leadership when the looting spree happened. Yeah. I don't believe that the political parties in the country played the role that they were supposed to play when this looting happened. I don't think that there was a good enough condemnation coming from them.
Yeah.
Yes. Speaking of politics in the country, the businesses that were looted, we must also say the majority of them were owned by people of color. That is, the access of those businesses were mostly white and Indian and foreign national owned businesses, which will then bring rise to the political will of the ANC to change the economic landscape of South Africa. I do not believe the ANC has a political will to change the status quo of South African economics. And I do believe that they turn the country into a welfare state, primarily because that's the only way they can literally stay in power, because they do not have revolutionary ideas.
They don't have strategies on how to better us.
Yes, because I've been in this country for 30 years. Yes, I will admit there are a lot of changes. There are a lot of big changes. Infrastructure has indeed improved in South Africa, whether you like it or not. Our way of life has indeed
we have free education.
We have a lot of things that have improved over the years in South Africa. And admittedly, those things are not enough. But ordinarily, at a personal level, and I think what frustrates most South Africans is the lack of opportunities being created at the same level for people who aren't politicians. Yes, that's frustrating because
you need to be associated with a certain.
Yes, and you see what happened in the looting spree was a response to the creation of entrepreneurs by the policies of the ruling party. You see, instead of creating genuine, legitimate business, I was saying, instead of the ruling party having policies that will create genuine business people who are going to add economic value to our people, you have entrepreneurs, people who will take millions of rands and act like conduits and those if there's no tender, they are not in business. So those are entrepreneurs, and I think they are the biggest problem that we have in our economy, because what these people would literally do, you will have these people meeting the BEE status, né? And then they would have this $1 billion tender, and they will take it to the very same people that the BEE was designed not to include.
Yeah.
So it then defeats the purpose of having that, because it simply says these people are paper pushers who get the money, take their cut, pay off the next guy. So that means, in my opinion, it's just legal bribery.
So this BEE thing, it was just a waste. It didn't help. It didn't enhance anything.
My opinion of a BEE, correctly implemented, it can benefit the greater majority of South Africans. Because my sister Mna, before I came to university, I was working before. The company that I was working for, they took the prerogative of buying us shares within the company. So when I exited the company through retrenchment, I received your severance package and whatnot, and then I received the money for the shares. In that regard, BEE was working. It worked in favor of the lower employees. But now, in terms of tenders and whatnot, I don't think it's working. I seriously don't think it's working. Maybe it's because
it's professional looting.
Yes, it's just professional bribery. It's in our setting, we would say if something isn't really working, I would say it's bribery that went to private school. So yeah, it is, because instead of creating genuine business people, what these tenders are doing, they're taking this money, giving it to people who have got no clue what they're doing, and they end up hiring these businesses that they weren't supposed to hire in the first place.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make much sense. But other than that, that's the ruling party needs to do some soul searching and needs to better serve our people. We can't be ungrateful of many things.
Yeah, yes, they've done a lot.
The likes of PAC and the ANC and AZAPO, they changed the course of our history alongside the IFP in Ndibulele when they were undressed in KwaZulu-Natal. He was very instrumental in bringing about peace. The likes of your Cleveland's hostel and whatnot. Even in Johannesburg, when there was unrest back then, when our country was transitioning, they were very instrumental in that. Yeah. And we do appreciate their sacrifices, along many leaders who came from exile and those that were in jail and those that held trade unions in our country. They did a lot of political good work that made sure that today we are able to sit and have this conversation in a free country. Yeah. But at the same time, to the ruling party, it's not enough, and your policies are what we are suffering now. And I think we are due for another transition where now we are able to trust Black people, professional Black people, with more responsibility. Because another problem that we are having, when my sister, is that our municipalities are run like political parties, where patronage is at the highest of everything, where people are going to be hired simply because they are affiliated to a certain political party.
Or you even know somebody.
Yeah, if you know someone who knows someone, then you're hired. Like, look at Singapore. Singapore and many other countries that are successful, their hiring model is meritocracy. So if you you need an engineer, you're going to go out there and get the most suitably qualified engineer to come and fill in an engineering post, irregardless of who their parents are or which political party they are affiliated to. So if you need a municipal manager, instead of getting the child of the minister or the child of the MEC from a certain province,
whose parents fought for freedom.
Yeah, instead of getting a freedom fighter's child to come fill in the post, how about to get someone with merit, someone who with qualification, someone who is highly competent to achieve the outcome.
And intelligent.
Yes.
Naturally intelligent.
Yeah, because competency means half of the battle is already won. So if you have a competent manager, then the business is going to proliferate. From your administrative perspective to your managerial perspective, and you are going to have a successful business just by having competent people, of which in this country, believe me, most municipalities have received more rescue and some are on the bankruptcy thingy. And you see, now that takes us back to this looting thing. You see, because we are served by these incompetent people who cannot do proper economic planning and integration of the people, then we have a so much high unemployment rate that people will do as they please in this country. And simply because we understand how our country functions, then we feel entitled to doing that even though it's wrong. So politically, we are in shambles, but all is not lost. South Africa has seen the worst of storms. We've been through apartheid. We've been through the Union of South Africa. We've been through the introduction of apartheid. We've been through the introduction of homelands. We've been through the transition where the tricameral parliament system that was implemented in the 80s.
We've overcome.
Yes, we've overcome. Yeah, we've overcome a lot of things as the people of South Africa, and as the youth of South Africa, we've borne the brunt of the wrath of this country, from an unfair justice system to a justice system that's getting more people orientated. So all is not lost, but we need to act, and the time to act politically is now, to avoid another repeat of looting, because it's not that we didn't know that looting was going to happen. We were ill prepared to deal with looting when it happened. Anything in South Africa can be a trigger for that to happen. So what we need is a competent state that's ready to act when its citizens act otherwise. And the country needs not to be afraid to enforce its laws. We voted for this country. We know what we voted for. So when the process goes wrong, we expect a competent state to act accordingly. You cannot, the most brutal you're ever going to be as a state and as a political leader is to let the rule of law go to waste. Because when the rule of law goes to waste, when the rule of law goes wrong, we are in serious trouble. Remember, what happened in KwaZulu-Natal especially, it's a very politically sensitive province. It's one of the provinces where we are experiencing higher rates of homophobia. It's one of the places where, not so long ago, there were bigger political divides. It is very, very sensitive to speak about ethnicity in KZN especially, because it's one of those provinces where politics still do determine the course of the province, the course of one's life. It's one of the, not so long ago, people were being killed in that province for their political views. So it's a very sensitive province, and it should be treated in that way. So when unrest happens in KZN, I'm not saying the government should be heavy-handed. I'm saying the government should be forever ready to act and should act promptly.
Yes, you do this to the Zulus, this is what you're going to get.
Yeah, and besides being, it's understanding the political demographics of your country. Unlike in Free State, where the majority of the people there speak Sotho, and generally they are more likely to conform to one party. In KZN, we have a bigger contender, that's the IFP to the north of the province. We have EDA to the coastal areas of the province, to the Midlands, and we have the ANC for the greater majority of the south and the northern Midlands of the province. So it's a very mixed province, which means that political tensions are more likely to rise and flare up. And with, in my opinion, I can put the blame squarely on the former president. He knew he could have foreseen I'm
No,
not saying
I
should
think
have.
he knew.
Yeah.
He knew what will this do to the people in
Yes.
in the province.
Yes, I think as a leader, he could have foreseen and understood his own home province. You know, that such could most probably happen, and you know, in trying to be politically correct here and not squarely blame deaths of people to anyone. But I do believe the leadership burden does lie with him. To you know, he could have ended the unrest in KZN by saying a few words that you know what. In this country, we have laws, and those laws need to be obeyed. Instead of vilifying our justice system, because the justice system has worked for him in the past. You know, like if you recall the Chris Nicholson judgment, the justice system has profoundly worked for him in the past, and it propelled him into presidency. You know, so I think when duty called to say, "Sir, call for calm. It's your country. It's your people. There's no need for people to use billions of rands simply because you are going to prison." You could have said, "My people, this is the justice system. This is what we voted for, and this is me complying with it. There is no need for all of this." Instead, Instead, the former president just slipped away to oblivion, and he left the people to their own devices.
Even now, he still needed to have said something. Even though he's still in the prison cells, wherever he is, he could have still asked to say something to rest, like to put everybody calm.
Yes.
But the most important thing, although it's too late to say it, he could have just went to the court of law and accounted.
Yes, and I do.
This would have been avoided.
In this regard, I would, as a young South African, I would say the former president failed the burden of leadership, and I think that's one of the things that he should at least as a person look into. You know, I'm not a legal expert, and I'm not a political expert in any kind of expert. But as a South African, my opinion would be. I think had we all played our role as South Africans, especially the leaders of South Africa, they played their role. This was an avoidable crisis, and I think the former president is at the center of avoiding this crisis because he saw the people forming a mess outside his homestead, and he relished their support. And I would have, as a person, done the same thing. But at the same time, for the country that I love, under the sense of patriotism, under the guise that I vote for this country and I wouldn't like to see my country banned, I would have called for calm and then whatever happens. But I do believe that there's more counting that
he could have made everything to be avoided.
Yes, he could have avoided the crisis. We could have avoided most of the things had he just spoken. Okay, let me just say this. Had he just led as the people believe that he's the leader.
Enough about that. So, just out of interest sake, you've been in politics as a student before. I always hear people saying politics is a dirty game. Is it indeed a dirty? Is it a game in the first place? Because some of us who are not politicians, we never believe that this is just a game. It means there's this chess out of us, the voters.
Yes, politics is a game. In politics, there's going to be always losers and winners, and that's all it's going to be. Okay. One of my highlights as a student activist was that when I arrived at my campus, the political party that I was a part of had one seat. And then I sat back. I was a former shop steward where I used to work. So I sat back and then I realized that technically, if you tell people information that they don't know, or that they cannot prove that you're lying. So if they don't know that you are lying, then the human instinct in most occasions will simply say this person is telling the truth. And if you say it with confidence, very important that
without blinking,
without blinking twice, and you tell them that this is how it is, then most probably they will perceive that you've told them the truth. And I think the political word for it is propaganda. So I used to run the propaganda machine of the political party that I was a part of. And one of the ways I used to do it is that I noticed that SASCO had support from the trade unions outside, especially in Ahau, and I also noticed that they had big financial coffers that would buy T-shirts that would do this and would be like, "Your company are going to lose this." So we need to come up with a plan. So one of my plans was genius. Students read. Contrary to popular beliefs, students read.
They do.
So what I
But they read whatever.
Yeah.
Not important things.
Yeah,
though.
students read. When you present information to them in flyers, especially about your NSFAS issues, your accommodation issues at university, and who did what, you must provide a certain kind of vibe for students. So what I used to do is that I used to go to my room at night, write pure propaganda. Not necessarily lie, but question what is known to be true and assert opinions as facts. This is the fact of the matter. And propaganda did really work because we moved from 1 seat to 2 seats. Then on the third year, we moved to 3 seats. Then at the climax of our power, towards my last years, we won the presidency, and unfortunately, our president didn't do so well. But it was fine. We had achieved the outcome. So I learned firsthand in student politics that information is key. When there's an information vacuum, fill it. You're never going to be in parallel with your partners. Remember, Sasco had this huge financial backing. We didn't have anything, and
you guys had information.
We didn't have information. We generated information. We filled the information void to say, this is what's happening. This is what so-and-so is doing.
Have you checked who and who? Why is this happening?
Yes.
Why is this?
Like, to students, you could probably say, let's say there's a party called XXX, the XXX party. Their treasurer is looting your NSFAS money. If the XSS whatever treasurer doesn't come out and say, guys, we don't even have access to that money. To students, it's true. That guy is eating your money, and you need to put them out because they are eating your money when no one is in control of that. So that's propaganda, and it's not correct. It's not right to do that. It's wrong. It's misleading.
It can cause a lot of damage.
It can cause a lot of damage, but it's politics.
It's the name of the game.
It's the name of the game. You don't come out and say, "No, I didn't do that. It's not happening." Then people will hold that it's true. But remember, when you're writing propaganda, the parts where they might not be true, you phrase them as opinionated questions. So it's like
So why this?
Yeah, like why? Let's say the treasurer general of this party buys a car and be like, okay, we didn't have a freshers party, but so bought a car. Could be that their parents are rich. It could be whatever they're going to come up with. It doesn't matter. To students, you took their money, you bought a car. Therefore, you need to be out of power. So that's the power of propaganda. It's untrue mostly, and it's unfounded opinion, but it makes you get whatever you want. And I played that game quite well. I'm not really proud, but I was good at it.
But then you were exercising part of
your
intelligent side.
I'm not proud, but I loved it, and I was good at it, and it got me where I wanted. As a result, those who know me, they call me Prof, because God knows I could, and I did.
Wow.
I was that kind of person who, when everybody's sleeping, I would be in caucuses like, okay, guys, we're going to lose this. Let's do 1, 2, 3. Let's write this. Let's have it printed in the morning. First thing when the students get to campus, let's distribute this. And then
let's post it wherever in the buses.
Yes, especially in the buses. In the morning, you would be standing there giving out papers like, yeah. And remember, most students do not come in, usually miss their morning class. They would miss their 8 o'clock class. So the 9 o'clock bus, the library will be operating from 8. So the 9 o'clock bus, be there with your pamphlets of lies and distribute it like, guys, I remember this is the one, like, as I was about to leave, this is the one that made me feel shame. There was this rape case, so it seemed like it was a relationship gone wrong, and the guy was a secretary of some party. And so, simply because this is online, I'm not going to mention names. So I remembered taking the stage to debate at school, at the university, and I remembered that, I have nothing to rally the students on. Literally zero, nothing. But when I got to the stage, I simply looked at the person and I said, how's your rape case? Are you going to lead on a rape ticket, or are you going to lead students with integrity and honor and whatnot? because if you are a rapist, I wouldn't want you near any students. And the conversation took that tone. So the guy, simply because, to my surprise, I didn't know that it was necessarily true. I wouldn't have exploited it if I knew the depth of the sensitivity
Yeah, because
of
it looked like you were insensitive, especially to the person who
yes,
was
and
raped.
to the student who was raped, to the
Yeah.
person who might have reported a rape or whatnot. But to my surprise, I exploited that very well to an extent that party moved from 5 to only 2 seats. So it did achieve the outcome, and that's the name of the game. You've got to be brutal. You've got to do whatever you've got to do, and that's politics. And remember, morals are highly questionable in politics.
Wow.
Your moral perspective comes under scrutiny a hell of a lot. And remember, in politics, you're in it to win. No matter what the politician tells you, you are in it to win.
So it's okay. We can say it's not really about the people. It's about the party winning.
It's about the party winning. It's about actually
whatever they might be saying in the manifesto.
It's about the prowess of individuals to win, regardless of what the manifesto says. Remember, when you're doing public speaking, it doesn't matter how right you are. What matters is, are they buying it? So the minute I stand there and be like, okay, so on your ticket you have a rapist. So that means you don't really care about the rights of women and children, because on your party ticket there's this guy who's a rapist. He's here. He's a self-confessed confessed rapist. He's here defending a rape point, but you are here to tell me that you care about the people. But this guy is this. You know, that was insensitive. That was unfair.
Yeah.
And if I would get an opportunity, I would really apologize to the guy now that I'm
and to
in
the
politics.
lady.
And to the lady, but the lady's identity is unknown to me. But at that moment, it was relevant. I needed a win, and I got the win. But it destroyed someone, and that's what necessarily made me really leave politics. Politics are a dirty game. You must have the skin in the game, and you must have a thick skin, and you must be willing to do whatever it takes to win.
To win it.
To win.
Oh wow! Thank you so much, Fikeni, for sharing your knowledge and your information and your speculations and your opinions.
Yeah.
Guys, these are not the alpha and omega. They are not the end, the beginning and the end. You still are allowed to have other views. If you want him to come back, guys, please shout out. Show me on the comments if you want him to come and we talk. I think with him we'll talk mostly state affairs, talk about economy, this and that. I already have people I talk relationships with, so yeah, I would really love you for that. So I hope people loved you and you are gonna come back should they require you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Most probably will do.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure.
Bye guys. Please don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like, to share and comment. The more you like, the more our video gets nominated, not really nominated, it gets to be asked, how do I put it? A lot of people get to see it. The more you like, it's like it's pushed higher to be seen, to be recognized. So guys, please do the right thing. Subscribe and comment and share and like. Thank you so much from me and Mr. Fikeni. Bye.